What is up, guys? This is Pinzo back with another video today, and what I have for you guys is another top 5 characters and build guide for you. So today we have Offlane. Offlane is probably has the biggest scope of like different builds and different characters that get played in the offlane. So we're gonna just start with number 5. Starting with number 5 today is going to be Feng Mao. Feng Mao is a pretty good offlaner. He is an assassin in the offlane. And he's pretty good. They buffed his E recently. They took a second off of the cooldown level 1, which means that you get more poke on this character. He's good at bullying lane, and he is very good against tanks. He's decent against some bruisers, but he's very good against tanks in lane. And then late game, you just get to the point where your goal is to kill the enemy backline. As far as crest selection on Feng Mao, generally speaking, you're going Ortis. You can go Judgment, and it's okay. I don't think it's super awesome. I do think Ortis is his best crest. If you're playing against like a triple tank comp, you would go Nex, because your goal is to just kill the backline. Your goal is to blow up the enemy carry. But realistically, against a triple tank team, you probably shouldn't be playing Feng Mao to begin with. So Ortis is his best. You go Witch Stalker if you really need the cleanse. If you're against like Faye Aurora, something like that, go Witch Stalker. As far as the build goes, it's Soul Chalice. Don't finish Rezo right away. Go Soul Chalice Mind Razor. Build is really, really good. These two items just slam. I would recommend, generally speaking, in the offlane, you're going Mutilator third. It's really good against tanks. If you're against a really squishy lane matchup, like you have a Feng Mao mirror match or something like that, or a Shinbi, you can go Pen here. You would go your, whatever, something like Envy or Painweaver or Omen, something like that here. But for the most part in the offlane, you're going to be end up with Mutilator here. And then you go your Pen. You can go Perforator. If the enemy team, again, if they're playing like a triple tank team, you can go Demolisher, and it's fine. But realistically, again, you just shouldn't be playing Feng Mao in those situations. So you would go Demo against 3 tanks. It's just going to be a hard match for you to play anyway. After this is where you get into more of your Pen build. Painweaver, Envy are your last 2 items. You can go these in either order. If you're ahead, I recommend Envy. If you're behind, I would recommend Painweaver. And then you can finish your Soul Chalice kind of at any point. If you go Envy in the 5th spot, I would probably finish Resolution here. If you are against tanks, if you go Demolisher, I would finish Resolution after you finish Demo, and that will give you a lot more damage on tanks. But yeah, this is pretty much the offlane Feng Mao build. Envy, still a really good item, lets you kill backliners for free. Painweaver got buffed, now has base move speed on it, really good item at the moment. And Mutilator, again, Mind Razor's your clear item, Mutilator's your damage item. Once you have just Soul Chalice Mind Razor, you probably can't fight a lot of offlaners, just by the way. Again, these build guides aren't really like how to play the character, but for Feng Mao specifically, it's a little awkward. You really can't fight on just Mind Razor. You do have a lot of ability haste. You can poke still very well. But your goal is to clear minions, get farm, maybe invade jungle camps, right? That kind of thing is your goal. So Feng Mao, number 5, still a pretty solid hero at the moment, even though they've nerfed a lot of his items recently. Moving into number 4, Sevarog. Dropped a little bit since I've done, like, you know, well, I did a tier list this week. But, you know, dropped a little bit in priority recently. But Sevarog is going to be our number 4 pick. He's still very good. Just a really solid tank. I think right now, honestly, most games are going Saphir's Mantle on this character, especially in the offlane. He just stacks it so freely, and Tank Crest right now, they buffed it, you know, 2 patches ago. It's really easy to stack. You get Saphir's Mantle at like 12 minutes, get a bunch of extra HP. Razorback's been nerfed a bunch. Razorback is still good if you're playing against things like Gadget, Iggy, Sparrow, Skylar. Razorback is still really good against those heroes, but generally speaking, I do think Saphir's Mantle is as good or better. As far as your build, most of the time, let's see, where are the defense items? Defense! Going Fire Blossom first. This item is broken. Just gives you so much clear. It gives you a lot of damage, especially against tanks. If you're against a magical offlaner, if you're against something like Kwang or Aurora, you can go Fire Blossom first, but it gets a little awkward. I'll do kind of 2 orders for this. Excuse me. Sorry, my hands are cold. I'll do 2 orders for this. First one will be against physical offlaners. Second one will be against magical offlaners. So physical offlaners, you're going Fire Blossom. If you're against something like Grux or Crunch, you're going Tainted Guard second. And then you're getting your Fist of Razul third. If you're not against something like that, if you're against, you know, I don't know, Greystone, or well, you kind of need anti-heal against Greystone. Seraph, you know, something where you don't need anti-heal second. Go Fire Blossom, then Fist, then Tainted Guard. And then you just get into more defense. You can go for your fourth item. This is generally speaking going to have to be Magic Armor. Magic Armor pretty limited right now. Like Tainted Bastion's a really good option here if you're playing against something like Iggy or Gadget that wants to hit you a whole lot. Crystalline Cuirass is the best option. Most of the time, I think Tainted Bastion is a really solid one-stop shop for magic defense. Unbroken Will, if they have multiple magic characters, if they have like Decker support plus a mid laner plus a magic jungler, then I would go 2 magic defense items. And then you're pretty much capping off all of these builds with Stonewall, one of the few items that makes you feel very tanky to physical damage dealers. If the enemy team is, you know, just like Decker support or a magic support plus a mid laner, I don't think you need Unbroken Will most games. If they're heavy CC, you would go Unbroken Will instead of Tainted Bastion if they're super heavy crowd control. But then you're swapping this out, you're going Giant's Ring. Giant's Ring, really, really good item right now. Just very solid. You'll see, like, Elefrost has kind of fallen off of this build, in my opinion. I think Giant's Ring kind of takes its spot. I just don't think you need more damage, especially when you have Sapphire's Mantle. You have to keep in mind that this is a lot of damage when you proc it. So when you hit people with this, it's true damage as well. So, like, it does the damage for you. I think you can drop Elefrost, and you have, again, damaging item, damaging item, damaging item, and then you get your 3 really tanky items. And it feels really good. You just run down the back line. It feels really good. Now, if I were playing against a magical offlaner, Aurora, Kwang, etc., I'm going Fist of Razul first, and then I'm going physical defense, or magical defense. Where is it? Magic Armor. Probably Flex Matrix in those kinds of matchups, because that means that if you're against a magical offlaner, they probably have a magical mid laner. It's at least 2 AP people, so you're going to end up with 2 magic defense items in this game. You can do something like this into Fire Blossom, Tainted, right? This kind of thing. You don't need Tainted. I would just go Giant's Ring here, make you even tankier. And then you're probably still going Tainted Bastion here. You can, again, this can be Unbroken Will against heavy crowd control teams. And then last item, again, Stonewall. If you don't need second magic defense item, you can go Stonewall here. You can go, you know, another physical defense item. You could go Elefrost last or something like that. If this is all the magic defense that you need, you can switch this out. But this is kind of what I would build against a magical offlaner. And those tank builds are going to look pretty similar when we get into some of the other characters on the list. But moving into number 3, we have Terra. Terra, really good offlaner right now. She bullies a lot of the good offlaners. That's why I have her so high. I have her at number 3. I probably would have put her 4 or 5, but she has such good matchups against good offlaners right now that I didn't feel justified putting her lower. Crest on this character, pretty much every game you are going Ice-Scorn Talons. Ice-Scorn Talons. Really, really good crest. You can, again, Judgment is buyable on this character. It's not terrible. But I do think Ice-Scorn Talons is just better, generally speaking. As far as items on this character, you do need 2 or 3 damage items to be threatening. Terra ult obviously makes you CC immune. If you are not threatening, if you cannot kill the backline while you're CC immune, then being CC immune doesn't matter, because they wouldn't have to peel you anyway, right? So you have to be threatening on this character in order to get value. First item every game, got to be Mutilator. This item is really good on this character. You get insane Omni Vamp off of your E, and you just box out tanks. You box out squishies. You have a lot of healing. You get big shields off your right click. This item's just really, really good on this hero. And then second item, most games, is Augmentation. If you are against something like Grux or another healer, Greystone, this should be Tainted Blade. Otherwise, and then I would go Aug third. I would build these 3 items. Again, if you need anti-heal sooner, go at second. If you don't, I would go Augmentation, then Tainted Blade. Even in games where you don't really need anti-heal, Tainted Blade's still a very, very solidly statted item for a character like Terra, so I would still go Mutilator, Aug, Tainted Blade, and then you go defense. You try to get as tanky as you can in a couple of items. This is usually something like Giant's Ring Stonewall. And then for your magic armor, this is a little bit of a toss-up. Mist Meadow Buckler is really good on this character, so is Dread. But these two items give you a lot of defense for... this obviously damage helps against magic, but this gives you a lot of tankiness against physical characters. But you should get a little bit of magic defense. Generally speaking, magic damage is a little bit easier to avoid if you're positioning properly, because you can dodge mage abilities. Generally speaking, you can. If you're positioned properly, you're paying attention, you can dodge them. Dread, really good as a magic defense option. So is Mist Meadow. Those are kind of the two that I would go last. Again, you have to be threatening on this character in order to be useful. You should be diving the back line. They should have to look at you. Again, with 2 items, 3 items, you infinitely 1v1 the enemy carry, the enemy mid laner. They cannot do anything to you. No way you lose. You just walk in and you click your buttons and then you win. Very good offlaner at the moment. Very good at running down the back line. Number 2. This is a funky one because he's not listed in the offlaner tab. This is Riktor. I think Riktor is still a very, very, very good offlaner right now. They've nerfed him a couple times. They nerfed his passive in the most recent patch. Don't think it matters. Riktor is still a very, very solid hero. Incredible wave clear. Honestly, that's like his primary thing. He clears the wave so quickly, and people can't contest him on the wave because he's doing AoE damage. So you get wave prio permanently. You still have a really good fight. Your Q is a really good ability that stops a lot of people from doing what they want to do. Riktor, very good hero. Again, generally speaking, going Sapphire's Mantle into, Fire Blossom, Mist of Razul, and, your Tainted Guard, and then probably a magic defense item. Again, either Tainted Bastion or Unbroken Will, dependent on the enemy team. If they have lots of CC, go Unbroken. If they don't, go Tainted Bastion. Then you're going back into damaging physical items, right? Giant's Ring. You can go Elefrost. If you need a second magic defense item, you can go Flux Matrix or Unbroken Will in this last spot. Otherwise, it's Stonewall. Character's just really good. Giant's Ring is incredible on this character. I would always build Giant's Ring. You have a lot of ability haste on a build like this. This is like 50 haste, right? You're very tanky. You have Sapphire's Mantle. You do your Riktor's Electrocute does damage based on his maximum HP. It's just, like, the character's just nuts. He's a stat checker, but he does just successfully stat check so many offlaners right now that I think he's very valuable. And late game, of course, you always have the threat of hooking the enemy team, and then they just die, which is also, of course, very valuable. So, very good offlaner. Very good at just killing people in the offlane. Chain CC, they die. GG. And then number 1. A lot of you probably thought Riktor was going to be number 1. I almost did put him number 1. But I actually think Kwang is number 1 right now. Similar reasoning to Terra, to be honest with you. I think Kwang as a character is very solid. He does bully in the offlane. That's what he's supposed to do. He gets a lot of abilities early game. He has a shield. He runs at people, right? He has crowd control. The reason I put Kwang at number 1 is because he has really good matchups. Against the other 4 characters on this list, Kwang has a winning matchup into all of them. He's one of very few characters that beats Terra. He can beat Riktor, Sevarog. He can bully tanks. Just a very, very solid hero all around. And on top of that, again, has good matchups against the other top offlaners on this list. And that is why I put him number 1. As far as Crest goes, you can go Tempest. It's fine. Right now, I personally think that Tank Crest is a little better on this hero, especially if you're playing against a tank. If you're playing against a Sevarog or a Riktor, I think Tank Crest is really good. It makes your lane way easier to play. You can go Razorback, you can go Sapphire's Mantle. Again, you can go Tempest if you want to go a more damage build. I'll give you 2 builds for this character. So we'll start with the tank build. Again, if you're going Sapphire's Mantle, you're kind of committing to tank. This is one character where you are still going Elefrost. I think Elefrost's first item is very good on this hero. 15 haste and the mana regen. Kwang is very mana hungry, so getting mana regen early, really solid. As far as your next items, generally Tainted Guard. This still gives you your 2 damaging items. You're just not going Fire Blossom on Kwang. You're going Elefrost Tainted. And then your third item, again, if you can get away with triple physical defense, it's Giant's Ring. Otherwise, you're going Magic Armor here. Something like Tainted Bastion or Unbroken Will. as we've talked about, right? You guys are kind of catching on at this point, I'm sure. And then Giant's Ring, Stone Wall, and then you're probably going another magic defense item. This is, again, like a full tank Kwang, a full tank Kwang build. Wow. That was awesome. Full tank, you're not going to one-shot people, but you are very disruptive. You have really low cooldowns. You're really hard to kill because of the shield you get from your right click. Plus you have a dash, plus you have knockup, plus you have tether, plus you have ult, right? Like, you're very good at setting up for your team with this build. Your team does have to be playing. If your team's disconnected, if your team's got their monitors turned off or whatever, right? You will struggle a little bit with this, but it is very easy to play in lane. It's very forgiving build. So there's that. This is what I would recommend most games, especially into damage dealers. If you're playing against Seraph offlane or Terra offlane or Feng Mao offlane, this is the kind of build I would recommend. You can go a kind of damage build, which is, I would go Tempest on this build. You're going, Magnify Oathkeeper as your first two items. You are very strong with these items, but you are squishy. You can kill people, but you're squishy. So keep that in mind, just something to take note of, that you won't be able to one-shot people. And then I would go defense. So something like Tainted Guard, Giant's Ring, grab some magic defense here, probably Tainted Bastion. This can be Unbroken Will against heavy CC teams, but likely Tainted Bastion. And then your last item, Stone Wall. And this build, again, this is more of a diving build. This isn't really a tank build. This is a build where if your goal is to kill the enemy carry, this is where this build excels. It's very good at killing the backline. You're still pretty tanky, but you do enough damage in your kit rotation to where if you tether somebody and go in on them, you do just kill them, the enemy carry at least, right? So keep that in mind. This is more of a diving build versus if you're going the full tank build, you're playing in the mid fight. You're looking to play disruption. If you can get a tether knockup on the backline, sick, right? Like, that's awesome. Your team probably did damage to them, but your goal is to keep your carries alive, that kind of thing. You're playing more of a mid-fight Kwang rather than a dive the backline Kwang. This build, I would build it against, again, the tanky build, really good against damage dealers. This build, better against tanks, better, against Sev, Rick, stuff like that. The Magnify is really valuable early. You can drop the Oathkeeper even and just go Magnify into full defense, and you're fine. You're good to go. I would switch this out to Elefrost, and then you're good to go. This build, also very good. But Kwang, number one right now for me. I think this character is really good in the offlane. Very easy to play as well. Just a complete button masher. And I think especially for ranked, he's hard to punish. Really easy to live ganks. Number one offlaner for me at the moment. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know down below. But that's all I've got for you. So as always, I've been Pinzo. This video's donezo. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.